Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. My name is Muhammad Izwan bin Anwar and we from group 5. Uh, Now we will present about international business. Next slide.
Hi, my name is Muhammad Ilham bin Alamsyah. My ID number is 12101032447. Okay, today I will present about what is international business. International business are planned transactions that take place across national border to meet the needs of individuals, individual companies, group companies, or government agencies or organizations. It can be viewed as a business transaction involving two countries. Thank you. Next, I will pass to Jackson.
Hello, my name is Jackson, and I will be giving a talk about economic integration and the emerging market. Economic integration refers to agreements and arrangements between countries that include trade barrier resolutions or eliminations, as well as monetary and fiscal policy coordination. When they reach an agreement with another country, this will occur. Economic integration aims to lower consumer and producer costs while increasing trade between the participating countries. The economic integration usually leads to reduced trade costs as well as increased availability of goods and services and a wider choices of these goods and services. They will also gain an efficiency in leading to greater purchasing power of the average buyer. An example of this would be when in North America, where they often practice free trade, which results in an economic upheaval of the country and other countries. The economic growth of other countries is also due to the provisions of goods, services, and the free sale of goods and repairs. Well, and then, well, after economic integration, the market will begin to become a lot larger, and maybe new markets may appear. An emerging market is a new niche or trend that has appeared in these markets. These markets become emerging when they receive a sudden increase in demand, and the suppliers may not have enough resources to meet this demand, which will leave a lot of room for new or existing companies to insert themselves to gain an advantage within that market. When the trend continues to rise and reach global heights, the companies who have invested a lot in this market will find themselves with higher profits and increase the variety in world, which will continue the company's success. Next will be I will be talking about supply chain management. The supply chain is the flow of goods, services, and information between multiple parties, which include organizations or individuals. Supply chains have three different degrees of complexity, which are the direct supply chain, the extended supply chain, and the ultimate supply chain. The supply chain is made up of it starts off with the supplier, which is in contact with the company, where the company will then take the order from the supplier and begin processing their products and send it out to a customer. The flow goes from the supplier to the organization into the customer. For the extended supply chain is just a bit more detailed version of the direct supply chain, in which where the supplier now there's a supplier, which the person that gets the raw basic resources and gets it to the supplier, and the customer's customer is basically meaning the customer being another middleman similar to the organization, which sends their product they have gotten from the organization and sells it to another customer. Then we will start with the ultimate supply chain, which gives a lot more detail while removing some from the previous extended, just adding on to the direct supply chain. The ultimate supply chain adds 5 other parties, which are the ultimate supplier, the financial provider, third-party logistics supplier, market research firm, and the ultimate customer, which all have their own role to play in the supply chain. The chain begins with the ultimate supplier, where it is truly the very origin of where the resources come from. After the supplier gains their resources, they will be in contact with the organization and a financial provider, which the supplier and the organization will have the financial provider to settle any financial transactions that may happen in between to get the supplies into organization. From the organization, will be in contact with as said before, the financial provider, a third-party logistics supplier, and it's also the customer and a market researcher. The company having this third-party logistics supplier basically helps with sorting out any products that need to be sent and will basically keep everything organized, while the market researcher will gain feedback from the ultimate customer so that the organization can continue to improve their products. And lastly, the ultimate customer will be the last receiver of the product itself. Let's show the product itself. So, that's it from me, and I will pass it off to one of my friends.
Okay. Thanks you for
Potong dari itu, salah sudah. Lupa sudah tadi.
thanks you for
No. This is still my part. I fucked up. Just cut it out and give it like 30 seconds of silence. I will then be continuing into the international business environment. A international business environment refers to the worldwide local situation, market trends, cultural differences and taboos, and applicable laws that may affect the operations of a company. The international business environment is extremely volatile and is very liable to change, which the company should have many protocols in place to mitigate any drawbacks that may arise from these changes. One of the changes that the environment may undertake is the change of political situation of the countries. These changes may force the companies to change their marketing strategy when the company experiences these changes. The larger companies may not receive these risks because they have the buying power to prevent these changes by either lobbying in the law to prevent certain laws to get passed, or usually called rules lawyering, which is following the rules to a T and finding exploits that may not be used, which helps them maintain the status quo or gain an advantage in the country that they are lobbying in. Although for smaller companies, they will not have this power and will have to find themselves to adapt and try to not oppose it to the local party. Another change that can happen to the environment is the global market experiencing a new change or an emerging market, which can increase or decrease the demand for a certain product or services. These changes will affect every company, and some companies may find one of the products either have become very desirable or will become less desirable, and they will need to try to remove resources from that market. An example of this sudden rise in trends would be the extravagant rise of extravagant weddings, where weddings were once just normal, at home, very private, very not as extravagant, just it does its job. But the rise in trend can be attributed to the upper class families in the 1820s and 1830s who were having weddings that is very similar to today's standard wedding. The most influential of these weddings, which is the wedding of Princess Diana in 1981, which was televised and witnessed by 750 million people. This event was taken advantage by the wedding industry, which used it to promote that weddings should all look this extravagant. Without this extravagancy, the love in that wedding is not there, and it will be viewed as the wedding not able to be, won't be long lasting. Another change that can happen, that can also happen to the global business environment, is cultural changes. These cultural changes usually affect the companies negatively because not every culture is interchangeable. People may find that certain companies, when jumping between countries, they may misunderstand or break certain taboos. An example of this would A very big example of this would be Coca-Cola and Pepsi, where they in their campaign to get into China to begin selling, because China has a very large market with a lot of people, and they tried to make their names more easier to understand. Coca-Cola wanted to make their name sound pretty much phonetically similar in English and Chinese. Unfortunately, in the Chinese version is translated, it turns into Bite the Wax Apple, which did not go over well. Well, and people just thought it was a weird knockoff brand of Coca-Cola. Well, Pepsi, they didn't do the same mistake, but they tried to make their name Pepsi brings you back to life. Unfortunately, when actually translated, it turns into Pepsi brings your ancestors back to life, which was not very received. Both these companies had to take a step back and rethink their marketing campaigns in China, which were pretty good nowadays. They're become very popular in all over the world. Now, we will be coming to the next change that can happen, which is change in international laws. These laws are used to protect the interest of the countries, which all countries, which prevents them from being exploited or having certain companies gain a higher share of certain resources. Maybe they would come to find many resources, they will grab it and prevent any other companies from gaining access to these resources. An example of this would be when the Teapot Dome scandal of 1920s, where the companies of Mammoth Oil and Pan America bribed U.S. Interior Secretary Albert B. Fall with $4,000 to gain access to Teapot Dome oil fields in Wyoming. This plot was then exposed by the Wall Street Journal in 1992, too, and the U.S. Interior Secretary that was accused of it was fined $100,000, which may seem small, but this fine came just before the crash of the stock market that happened later that year. So that's it from me. I will now pass it on to one of my other friends, who will be beginning with international human resources.
Okay, thank you for it's now we'll talk about international human resource management. Well, international human resource management, or you can say IHRM, is a term used for organizations that manage their human resource activities international. International human resource management also include additional activities. It involves global understanding, management, or HR activities in an organization. International human resource management also typical manage HR critical in any organization from an international perspective, such as considering global trends, uh, trends, talent, and other. In addition, international human resource management is also commonly used for M&E, and therefore the focus of AHRI relies on international human resource management is around M&E. There are many focus that M&E need to focus to consider when located and engaging staff across different countries and region. Next, I'll pass to my friend Ilham.
Now I will explain about international shipping. International shipping is the transportation of goods from one country to another by sea, air, or road. International shipping is a complex process of transferring goods across border governed by a slew of rules and regulation. Firm shipping Firm must understand and adhere to certain international shipping policies to properly import or export freight and collect paperwork to ensure your shipment passes custom clearance. Now, how does international shipping tax? International shipping, international shipment might take anywhere from 2 days or to 4 weeks, depending on the size on the package or frame on the shipping method you choose. A cargo is famed for its speedy international delivery, but transporting freight over the water on cargo baggage can take much longer. International shipping products are typically made up of 5 major components. Firstly, export hauled first. The freight is moved from its origin to next warehouse, port, or facilities firm from whence it will depart for the border. Second, custom clearance is the next step in the export process. When the freight reaches the border of the exporting country, it goes through the clearance process before proceeding to the next stage. Aside from that, the transportation process begin once your lot has successfully left the origin nation. In addition, import custom clearance is required when the freight reach the border of importing country. It goes through another clearance process. This is the most significant step in the shipping procedure since it ensures that your freight conform with custom law. Lastly, port haul is a term used to describe the transportation of goods from one location to another. Your freight is carried from the border to its final destination after successfully clearing the importer country border. Last, how to ship freight internationally. What is the best way to carry internationally? International shipping is difficult to arrange, especially if you are doing for the first time. So I will give some step to get your freight sent to overseas to successful. The first step is gathering information. Gathering all shipment information and presenting it necessary from a critical step in the completing your international freight shipping, filling out the paperwork and submitting the necessary evidence. Might be difficult because a single initiatory can result in a failure. Then custom clearance is an important milestone in international shipping. You will need a custom broker to do it properly, then expert and skilled at planning and executing international freight move. You can really and them to collect document and carry out the custom forwarding process correctly. If you utilize a freight forwarding business, they will most likely recommended even provide a custom broker. The final step is the monitor the outcome. After the most critical part of the process has been accomplished, you should track your shipment to ensure it's arrived at its destination. Transparent and real-time tracking is critical for international shipments. So find a transportation partner who give continuously and timely information on your freight. Thank you. That's all from me.
Next. So now I'll say all about the conclusion for international business. International business deal which transaction made by two countries with this existence of international business, the country's economy will grow. Efficiency in shipping allow it to support grow it international trade. The latter depends on the health of the global economy. This international business has created a lot of trade competition, while the country economy is growing as country increase involved with the global market. But international business also has its own risk as international organization beginning to regular international activities. This is because of this is from rich country for shipping want to prices themselves which the strictly laws they make. Therefore, every countries need to be prepared in international business, even though it is very benefit to every countries, as it also has risks could could create intercontinental war happening. Uh, Next slide. Only that for me. Thank you.